and welcome to another edition of Forgotten Musical Masterpieces with me, Barry Humphries. Over the next hour, I am bringing you another enchanting selection of my favourite neglected 10 and 12-inch shellac discs. With these, I'm aiming to transport you back to the first half of the 20th century. To a time of friction in Europe, economic uncertainty, and hung parliaments. Thank goodness we live in less turbulent times. With my radio programs here on BBC Radio 2, I feel I'm offering a genuine public service. I'm reaching parts of you that other presenters dare not even consider reaching for.
I'm gonna get lit up when the lights go up in London. I'm gonna get lit up as I've never been before. You will find me on the tiles, you will find me wreathed in smiles. I'm gonna get so lit up I'll be visible for miles. The city will sit up when the lights go up in London. We'll all be lit up as the Strand was, only more, much more. And before the party's played out, they will fetch the fire brigade out to the littest, uppest scene you ever saw.
My thanks to Carol Gibbons of the Savoy Hotel Orpheans for their rendition of I'm Going to Get Lit Up When the Lights Go On in London, written by Herbert Gregg for the 1943 show Strike a New Note. A year later, in 1944, that song had a far more important role when it was used to alert the French resistance that the Allied invasion was imminent, assuming that the French resistance had a radio set. It is very nice to have your name up in lights. In 1968, the show Oliver was revived at the Piccadilly Theatre, and I was playing Fagin, and my name was up there in lights over the theatre, visible from Piccadilly Circus. But looming was a wonderful show called Cabaret, and I had the record of that, and I thought I want to really be in that show playing the MC. So I secretly auditioned. I went down the street to where they were holding auditions at Her Majesty's Theatre, and I went on and rather pathetically tried to sing a few songs from Cabaret. I was stopped quite short, and a director stepped up out of the darkness and said to me, Mr. Smith, please come back when you've had a bit more experience. I couldn't very well direct him up the street to where my name flashed over the Piccadilly Circus. When I was on Broadway on a couple of occasions, I did have my name also in lights. It's a very nice feeling, but it's possible. I mean, you could just go to a lighting company and they could put your name in lights and you perhaps put it over your house at Christmas time. It's a thought. The next song is a German song dedicated to a woman who is perhaps the greatest star of them all.
Greta Garbo, bist die schönste Frau der Welt. Blond bist du wie Greta Garbo, nur hast du nicht so viel Geld. Trotzdem kannst du mit den Wimpern klimpern, wie die Garbo tut. Gerade so schön wie sie, so mondän wie sie, Greta Garbo auf Hollywood. die schönste Frau der Welt. Blond bist du wie Greta Garbo, nur hast du nicht so viel Geld. Trotzdem kannst du mit den Wimpern klimpern, wie die Garbo tut. Gerade so schön wie sie, so mondän wie sie, Greta Garbo aus Hollywood.
That was the fabulous Dajas Bella with his orchestra performing You Are My Greta Garbo to give it its English title. The orchestra of the Hungarian-born violinist Dajas Bella was without doubt one of the most popular to be heard in Berlin during the late 20s and early 30s. It broke up suddenly at the end of 1933 when Dajas Bella emigrated to South America to escape the Nazis. He lived the rest of his life in Buenos Aires and died in 1978. Now, I've wanted to play this next song on this show for ages.
In China, not for all the grapes in France, would I exchange the pleasure that I get with every measure when we dance. Not for all the kilts in Scotland, not for all the bulls in Spain, would I give up arriving at your house, although you're driving me insane. Not for all the onions in Bermuda or the cheeses that are made by the Swiss would I exchange that first kiss that you gave me. Not for all the beans in Boston, not for all the steaks in Moors, would I agree to part with all the joy you filled my heart with when you said, I'm yours.
That was Clifton Webb with the song Not for All the Rice in China. We remember Clifton Webb mostly in movies of the 40s and 50s for playing rather prissy, tetchy characters, sometimes a little malevolent, especially in the film Laura. But he began his career as a song and dance man, rivaling at one point the career of Fred Astaire. As there are just the two of us here, I feel I can let you into a secret. Of all the things I do, this is my favourite. I'm delighted to be no longer managing that dreadful, difficult Dame Edna woman. For I now have more time to hunt around places looking for rare 78 RPM recordings for your delectation. You know, you might find this difficult to believe, but I've always found Edna very demanding. even before she became a dame. Being her manager for all those years did place a very severe strain on me, and I can't tell you how relieved I am that she is now handling herself.
A frown to old Broadway, you've got to clown on Broadway. Your troubles there are out of style, for Broadway always wears a smile. A million lights, they flicker there, a million hearts beat quicker there. Those skies are gray on that great white way.
Arthur Freed and Horatio Herb Brown's Broadway Melody. The song popped up in many shows and films, but it was originally featured in the 1929 Oscar-winning movie of the same name, an American pre-code musical that was also the first sound film to win an Academy Award for Best Picture. By pre-code, I mean the film was made before the introduction of the Motion Picture Production Code, which subsequently became the Hays Code after the man charged with writing it, William Harrison Hays. It was a successful attempt by the American film industry after a period of Hollywood scandals to bring in a policy of self-regulation and thereby, hopefully, prevent wholesale government censorship. If you do some digging online, or perhaps attend one of the marvellous silent film screenings at the Kennington Bioscope, you'll find that pre-code films of the 1920s and earlier are far more risque than those that came later, after the code started being enforced. One of the best examples I can think of is a film that sadly has now been completely lost. It's the 1917 film Cleopatra. Just like the 1963 film of the same name, starring Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, the Cleopatra of 1917 was one of the most elaborate and expensive films Hollywood had ever produced up to that time. With lavish sets and costumes, the film was a huge box office draw. Yet, after the Hays Code was implemented, Cleopatra was judged too obscene to be shown at all. The last known prints of it were destroyed in a fire at Fox Studios in 1937. Tragically, only a few tantalizing segments now survive.
Itself, so the wise men say. I believe they're right, because last night I heard peculiar music play. In dreams it seems it took me back 2,000 years ago, which only goes to prove that Egyptians were not slow. Cleopatra had a jazz band in her castle on the Nile. Every night she gave a jazz dance in a queer Egyptian style. She won Mark Antony with her syncopated harmony, and as they played, she swayed. She knew she had him all the while in the shadow of the pyramid. 'Neath the old Egyptian moon, a sphinx was looking on and said there'll be a wedding soon. But the real historic scandal scandal was that Cleo lost her sandal as she danced to the strains of that Egyptian jazz band tune. Egypt got the dancing craze, so the wise men say. They heard that music play, the natives all began to dance and sway. Caesar came from Rome to learn to dance the foxtrot and one step. And when he heard those jazzers play, he sure was full of pep. Cleopatra had a jazz band in her castle on the Nile. Every night she gave a jazz dance in a queer Egyptian style. She won Mark Antony with her syncopated harmony. And as they played, she swayed. She knew she had him all the while in the shadow of the pyramid. Neath the old Egyptian moon, a sphinx was looking on and said there'll be a wedding soon. Brutus stabbed poor Julius Caesar just because he tried to please her as she danced to the strains of that Egyptian jazz band tune.
Well, that was simply charming. Cleopatra had a jazz band sung by Sam Ash. That song, rather amusingly, suggests that the origins of jazz stretch back as far as ancient Egypt. Miff Mole and his Little Molars, with a song which could quite easily be adopted as the signature tune of wannabe film stars everywhere. You Took Advantage of Me was recorded by Miff and his friends on the 27th of July, 1928. Now, here comes a song that Cecil Beaton, no less, said was the signature tune of the 20s. Noel Coward wrote it for his great friend Gertrude Lawrence while he was on a short break to Germany.
Fantasy in olden days, in varying and different ways, was very much in vogue. Columbine and Pantaloon, a wistful Pierrot 'neath the moon, and Harlequin a rogue. Nowadays Parisians of leisure wake the echo of an old refrain. Each some ragged effigy will treasure for his pleasure, till the shadows of the story live again. Parisian Pierrot, society's hero, the lord of the day, the Rue de la Paix, is under your sway. The world may flatter, but what does that matter? They'll never shatter your gloom profound. Parisian Pierrot, your spirit's at zero, divinely forlorn, with exquisite scorn, from sunset to dawn. The limbo is calling, your star will be falling as soon as the clock goes round. Mournfulness has always been the keynote of a Pierrot scene when passion plays a part. Pierrot in a tragic pose will kiss a faded silver rose and crush it to his heart. Someday soon he'll leave his tears behind him. Comedy comes laughing down the street. Columbine will fly to him, admiring and desiring, laying love and adoration at his feet. Parisian Pierrot, society's hero, the lord of a day, the Rue de la Paix, is under your sway. The world may flatter, but what does that matter? They'll never shatter your gloom profound. Parisian Pierrot, your spirit's at zero, divinely forlorn, with exquisite scorn, from sunset to dawn. The limbo is calling, your star will be falling as soon as the clock goes round.
Noel Coward's Parisian Pierrot, which portrays the character of the sad clown, pining for love which is unrequited. He is the fool, the butt of pranks, yet nonetheless eternally trusting. I'm very lucky. I found everybody in the world needs to laugh. And if you can help them to do it, it's a very honourable task. In 1928, Fred Waring and his orchestra recorded Laugh, Clown, Laugh. I feel this melancholy tune reveals the true meaning of the song, the underlying misery of the clown or comedian who's forced to appear constantly happy and the life and soul of every party, when they actually feel far from happy inside. I don't really subscribe to the view that all comedians are morose figures. I'm certainly not. If I'm to call myself a comedian, I feel happy inside and outside when I'm in the presence of an audience, especially if they're paid.
Life is a play, and we all play a part. The lover, the dreamer, the clown. The dreamer and lover are always in tears. The clown spreads sunshine around. The life with a smile is the life worthwhile. Oh, clown, till the curtain comes down. Even though you're only make-believing, laugh, clown, laugh. Even though something inside is grieving, laugh, clown, laugh. Don't let your heart grow too mellow. Just be a real punchinello fellow. You're supposed to brighten up a place and laugh, clown, laugh. Paint a lot of smiles around your face and laugh, clown, don't frown. Just in your best la yuba, be a pagliaccio and laugh, clown, laugh.
Laugh, Clown, Laugh, from the film of the same name that was Freddie Waring and his orchestra in 1928, on that popular theme of the melancholy clown, the heartbroken comedian. That last lugubrious track is in total contrast to the next one, which is relentlessly upbeat and performed, arguably, by the world's greatest showman. No, not Phineas Barnum, not my countryman Hugh Jackman, but Al Jolson.
When the wintry winds are blowing and the snow is starting into fall, then my eyes turn westward, knowing that's the place that I love best of all. California, I've been blue since I've been away from you. I can't wait till I get going. Even now, I'm starting in to call. Oh, California, here I come, right back where I started from, where bowers of flowers bloom in the sun. Each morning at dawning, birdies sing, and everything a sun-kissed miss said, don't be late. That's why I can hardly wait. Open up your
Jolson telling California, "Here I Come," in January 1924. The cheerful, wonderful song was written by Buddy DeSilva and Joseph Meyer, and it's the unofficial anthem of California. It was written in 1921 for a Broadway musical called Bombo, a theatrical vehicle for Jolson, though he didn't record it until 3 years later. You may have noticed that the Golden Gate Bridge got a big mention in that song. It's one of the most internationally recognized symbols of America. At the time of its opening in 1937, it was both the longest and tallest suspension bridge in the world. When I lived for quite a long time in San Francisco, my flat had a view of both the Alcatraz prison and the Golden Gate Bridge. And the strange thing about that bridge is whatever the weather in San Francisco, cross the bridge, it's sunny. The name, the Golden Gate Bridge, was first used in 1917, when the project was initially discussed. It stuck. This is the critically acclaimed vintage music show, Forgotten Musical Masterpieces, presented by me, Barry Humphries. Thank you for having me at your place. I'm taking you back to the time of ink pens, blotting paper, typewriters and telegrams, and table manners. I could also take you back, of course, to the time of powdered egg, dripping and tripe, but I won't. The poignant "The World is Waiting for Sunshine," written in 1919, That version of it was recorded in 1922 by Isham Jones and his band. California is, of course, the Sunshine State, home to America's movie-making business. In the early 1900s, patents for most of the equipment used to make movies were owned by the famous Thomas Edison. Based in New Jersey, Edison zealously enforced his patents, forcing film directors to shut down productions entirely. So in order to escape Edison's lawyers, filmmakers began moving out west to LA. That's one of the two main reasons why Los Angeles became the capital of the film industry in the USA. The other reason, of course, is sunshine. In the era before lighting stages, the long days and fine Californian weather enabled filmmakers to continue filming longer. Nestor Studios was the first Hollywood film studio. It opened in October 1911, when land and labor were extremely cheap and plentiful. One of the first Australians to make a name for themselves in those very early days of Hollywood was Annette Kellerman. Born in 1887, she first gained notoriety as a professional swimmer, and she was one of the first women to wear a one-piece bathing costume instead of the usual pantaloons. Annette appeared in big-budget movies, usually with aquatic themes, such as the 1916 film A Daughter of the Gods, in which she became the first major actress to appear nude on screen. This was in the days before the Hays Code. Kellerman's last movie, Venus of the South Seas, was made in 1924 and had one entire reel shot entirely underwater. Annette Kellerman died at the age of 89 in 1975, and I'm told her ashes were scattered on the Great Barrier Reef. What would David Attenborough say about that? Was Jack Hilton and his band with a track called Sunshine, recorded in Hayes in rainy Middlesex on the 3rd of May, 1928. There's currently a fine crop of Australian actors working in Hollywood, but actually that's pretty much always been the case, if you forget about Paul Hogan. The most famous Australian film actor of them all, after myself of course, is Errol Flynn, best known for his swashbuckling and playboy lifestyle. He became a movie star very soon after he arrived in Los Angeles from Sydney. And if you listen quite carefully to his early movies, he has made no attempt whatever to disguise his Australian accent. There are others whose faces you'll recognise, but whose names would be less familiar to you, and they include Billy Bevan, who appeared in 254 American films between 1916 and 1950. Billy was born in the town of Orange in New South Wales, sailed to America with the Pollard Opera Company in 1912, and when the company disbanded, he became a supporting actor for Mack Sennett, and by 1922, he was a star. Cecil Kellaway was a well-known Hollywood actor. He came from Sydney, and you'd have seen Rod Taylor, of course, in movies like The Time Machine, The Birds, and Sunday in New York. And Frank Hagney in the James Stewart classic, It's a Wonderful Life. But the Australian movie star with by far the best name is Snub Pollard. Snub was born in Melbourne in 1889. He was a silent film comedian, popular in the 1920s, who continued working in movies until the early 1960s. Among countless other movies, Snub appeared in Singing in the Rain and The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Good evening, Jack.
Good evening, Six Sisters. I say I'm feeling good tonight. I think I'll sing.
I'd like to hear you sing an American song.
Well, anyone you like. I know all three.
Do you know Dapper Dan?
No, but I lay 6 to 40 comes from Dixie.
Oh, I do wish you could sing it.
Well, now listen, honey. Give me a chord in G and I'm right with you. Shoot. Go on, kid. Go ahead with it.
Dapper Dan was a poor reporter man on a train that ran through Dixie.
Everyone knew Dapper Dan. Knew him for a ladies' man.
He never failed to settle down. He had a gal in every town.
On the train the whole day long, you'll hear him sing this song.
If you lose your gal in Tennessee,
That won't worry me, 'cause I've got another honey lamb waiting for me down in Alabama.
but if you lose your gal in Alabama,
I won't feel blue, 'cause I've got one in Georgia that I cannot write to.
if you lose your gal in Georgia, bet that you will find.
No, I've got another mama waiting down in sunny Caroline.
Now he ain't handsome, he ain't sweet, but he's got a brand of love that can't be beat.
I'm a ladies' man from dear old Dixieland.
Dapper Dan was a very handy man on a train that ran through Dixie.
Made the beds and everything. All you had to do was ring.
When the train stopped anywhere, there'd be some gal waiting there.
He'd say, this is one of mine, and that another down the line.
Well, if you lose your gal in Baltimore,
That won't make me sore, 'cause I got the work to fill the bill, waiting for me down in Louisville.
but if you lose your gal in Louisville,
I'll never fret, 'cause I've got one in Mobile that I can go and get.
if you lose your gal in Mobile, funny as it seems, there's another little mama waiting down sunny New Orleans.
Now I won't let no gal run my life, 'cause if I lose them all, I still got my wife.
Dapper Dan from dear old Dixieland. Starman.
It was Jack Buchanan and the Trick Sisters you heard on that recording. Jack Buchanan first performed Dapper Dan in the 1921 show A to Z at the Prince of Wales. The cast also included Gertrude Lawrence. They were stars on both sides of the Atlantic. Next, we hear from my good friend Jessica Dame Angela Lansbury, with a song written in 1905 by the great composer Jerome Kern and the lyricist Edward Lasker for the musical The Earl and the Girl. It's the slightly risque, how'd you like to spoon with me? It's a sort of romantic expression named after, well, an item of cutlery. Something that you might enjoy in moonlight under a willow tree by a lovely lake.
I don't know why I am so very shy. I always was demure. I never knew what silly lovers do. No flirting I'd endure. In all my life I never kissed a man. I never winked my eye. But now at last I'm going to break the ice. So how'd you like to try? How'd you like to spoon with me?
I liked.
How'd you like to spoon with me?
Well, rather.
Sit beneath an oak tree, large and shady. Call me little Tootsie, Woodsy, baby. How'd you like to hug and squeeze?
Indeed, I would.
Dangle me upon your knee.
How
How'd you like to be my lovely darling? How'd you like to spoon with me?
What a daisy.
How'd you like to spoon with me? How'd you like to spoon with me? Beneath an oak tree large and shiny, call me little Tootsie Wootsie by here. How'd you like to hug and sway? Well, I dangle you upon my knee. I hope you will be a. How'd you like to be my lovey-dovey? How'd you like to, 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 how'd you like to spoon with me? How'd you like to spoon with me? Rather.
Angela Lansbury in the 1946 movie musical Till the Clouds Roll By. It was a musical tribute to and fictionalized biopic of the great composer Jerome Kern. He was originally involved in the production but died before it was completed. It had a huge cast of stars, each performing at least one of Kern's songs. Born in 1885, Jerome Kern's achievements were such that he inspired those who followed him, including Gershwin, Coward, Cole Porter and Richard Rodgers. Richard Rodgers' music for the song Manhattan, one of my favourites. That's just one of the many Rodgers wrote with Lawrence Hart. The lyrics, which we didn't hear this time, describe the simple delights of the island of Manhattan for a young couple in love. The joke is that these delights were actually some of the worst or cheapest sights that New York has to offer. We'll perhaps hear the words of the song another time.
Eine Nacht in Monte Carlo möcht ich wandeln unter Palmen mit dir. Siehst du vor Palmen den Himmel nicht, kriegst du den Himmel von mir. Eine Nacht in Monte Carlo möcht ich lernen unter Sternen, wie schön es ist, wenn man eine küsst, die man nie vergisst.
A wonderful tango by Walter R. Hayman, entitled "'Neath the Spell of Monte Carlo." A band leader who fell under its spell more than once was Bert Ambrose. He was a big gambler and famously lost £30,000 in one night at the tables of Monte Carlo.
Eine Nacht in Monte Carlo möcht ich wandeln unter Palmen mit dir. Siehst du vor Palmen den Himmel nicht, kriegst du den Himmel von mir. Eine Nacht in Monte Carlo möcht ich lernen unter Sternen, wie schön es ist, wenn man eine küsst, die man nie vergisst.
I can't believe it. Once again, sadly, we're almost at the end of this program. But before I leave you, there is just time to tell you that this is a Strauss House production for BBC Radio 2. The producer is my very good friend, Claire Wordsworth. And I do hope you'll join us next time for more dusty delights on disc. Until then, it's goodbye from me, Barry Humphries. Thank you for having me at your place.
To 91